Well, hello. Welcome to the Whole Woman series. I am absolutely excited about this whole series has just been amazing from start to finish. I'm going to make sure my mic is turned all the way up. I don't want you to miss anything. We have a special guest with us. When I tell you this woman is absolutely amazing. She is changing lives. She is a good, dear friend of mine. You know, I only bring you the best, Promise Life. I only bring you the best. And we have here licensed married family therapist, Chevonna Gaylor. Can we show her some love? Can we show her some love in the chat? Say hello. They're saying
hi, everyone.
So welcome. I mean, it's been a minute.
It has.
Yes, it has. But I know that you're out there changing the world, one person, one life, one family at a time. And I really wanted to bring you on in this Whole Woman series because there is such a stigma around seeing therapists as a Christian. Right? And I know you saved. I know you love the Lord.
Oh, therapy is my gift and my calling. First, I want to say hi to all these wonderful women who are speaking to me. I see y'all. I see you, and I am feeling this love. And therapy is my gift. It's my anointed gift. It's what I was put on this earth to do. I was born into this gift, even though it took me until adulthood to realize that I needed to lean into it professionally. So God speaks through me. I pray in, through, before, after every session. And my prayer is that God use me. I say, God, Father, you created this person. You were there when they hurt. You knew them before they were formed in their mother's womb. So when they hurt, when they shed tears, you cried with them. I ask you, you know exactly what it takes to heal their broken heart because you created that heart. So use me. Use my voice, use my touch, use my presence, use me, speak through me, heal through me. And he answers that prayer every single time.
Yes, yes. And I love how you mentioned you pray because I want the ladies to realize that this is a safe space. We're going to talk, we're going to get into some crucial conversations because I know as a woman, listen, hey, Promise Life, and those who be watching the replay, relationships at their core are the source of our relationship with Christ. You cannot separate that. And so I want to jump in and get started because I know we don't have a lot of time. So if you have questions and you're watching, you can put your questions in the chat. Me and Chevonna were talking off backstage, if you will. And we were saying that if you want, we can do a pop-up Q&A on our Instagram, just so that we can really home in on those specific questions. So I know she's going to speak in general and things like that, but we want to get those specific questions, and we'll hop on Instagram live and do that with you if that's cool. So Promise Life, before we get into this Q&A, make sure you're tagging your sisters. Go ahead and share. Hit that share button. Some watching on YouTube, I see the YouTube comments coming in. So go ahead and share the link. We want women to come on and understand relationships at their core. So,
no, you said share, so I probably should be sharing this link as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Go on and share so that we can invite people into the conversation. Have a watch party in your groups. I know we have leaders. Promise Life is a group for women who lead. So go ahead and share them in your respected groups. Do a watch party because, again, relationships at their core. We cannot say that we are spiritually mature and the relationships around us are falling apart. That doesn't go together. I know you would like to believe that, and it's easy to hide there, but we can't hide there anymore. God is concerned about the whole woman. He wants you to have an amazing prayer life and a bomb marriage.
Yes, and I'm glad you said we hide there because sometimes we use our faith as an avoidance. We tend to lean into areas where we feel most efficient, sufficient, successful. And so if we feel like our worship, our relationship with Christ, our relationship with our church family is easier, is smoother, sometimes we'll use that as an excuse to avoid doing some of the work in the other areas of our life. And so it's really important that we realize that as women, you are a believer, a woman, a partner, a parent. Some of you may be parents, a sibling, a friend. They all should cohesively flow together.
That's good.
If one of them is hindering or harming the other, then you really have to assess what's going on, because they should all coincide, right? So if you as a believer and you believe that your walk as a believer is damaging your relationship with your children or your marriage or your career, that's not what God intended. So we have to assess that. Now, think about it also. If you're in a relationship and that relationship, your role as a partner hurts your role as a parent, we got to assess that. Because they should all coincide. They should all cohesively exist. Mind you, there are going to be times where you give one more energy than the other. However, one should not hurt the other.
That's so good. One should not hurt the other.
One role that you fulfill should not hurt the other role. So if I'm an employee, that shouldn't hurt. Mind you, it may be some compromise. It may be uncomfortable, but me as an employee should not hurt my role as a believer, my role as a parent, my role as a partner.
That's so good.
It shouldn't hurt the other. So when we see that the relationship, one of those roles, the hats that we wear, mind you, us role as a believer, that's an embodiment. That's a part of our mind, body, soul. It's everywhere we are. But sometimes our actions, the hat that we put on, our actions as a believer, could possibly hurt some of our own relationships. And we have to assess what's going on here.
So I hear you, and I like to break it down because it's so good.
Yes.
One of my team members, she always calls things yummy. So she says they're yummy. So she knows what I'm talking about. And so you're saying, as a Christian believer, your role as a mom should not hurt your role as the wife, or your role as the Christian, or your role as a business owner.
Yes. So let's make it plain, right? So I'm a believer, and I may have some roles at the church, right? And so I could also run a business, and then I could also have 2 kids and have my husband, right? So my business has me working so much that I never really have time for my worship. I'm not really in my word. I'm feeling really disconnected from the Lord. My spirit is so empty and hungry, right? And then I'm like, wow, I'm feeling frazzled because my spirit is empty. So that's hurting my role as for myself. Then I'm like, I'm snappy with the kids. I'm doing stuff at work. I'm not making time for my partner. So things are starting to hurt because that role as in my business role kind of started hurting the other roles. But now, let's keep it real. You at church every day of the week. Your kids, their grades are bad. Your man is, can we have date night? No, because I gotta do this ministry and I got this ministry. All the church people calling you every minute, but you got people in your life who love you and who depend on you, who can't even utilize you because you're giving so much of yourself to the church, and they're hurting.
Yeah. To the business, to the,
yes.
Because we have lots of entrepreneurs.
Yes. So
I'm here for it. Yes.
We can compromise. We can look at and assess. We're constantly assessing. It's not a shaming. We have to look and assess, because there's going to be times where where you have to give a little bit more in a certain area. When you have a partner, so there's going to be times where your husband needs you and says, "Hey, I need a little bit more of you in this season," and you may have to pull back from some of those other things. That's not hurting those other things. That's shifting. You may need to shift. It's fluid. There's going to be some shifting that happens, but when one of your hats that you wear, one role that you have, is hurting the other one, you're like, whoa, it's time to pump the brakes.
I love that. You better drop the jewels out the gate. So let's talk about this, because we do have some questions so that we can kind of home in and touch all the areas. So let's talk about establishing relationships, because as a life coach, as just a minister, friend, I've talked to women all over, and it's establishing those relationships. So what would you say are the characteristics of a healthy relationship?
Well, the characteristics of a healthy relationship, first, I want to say a lot of, I work with, of course, I work with women, I work with couples, I work with the full range of dynamics. And what I do often find is the women who come to me saying, I want a relationship, I want to be married, I want to be married, I want to be married, are not putting as much effort into being marriage ready, being relationship ready. I want some friends, I want some friends, I want some friends. I need better friends, I need better friends. But that energy is not being put into being a better friend.
Tell the people, please.
So I really want to assess, I think before being so focused on a relationship, I think the number one thing we have to do is really assess who we are and are we good? Do we like ourselves? Like, would we date ourselves?
Would you date yourself?
Would you date yourself? Would you be your own friend? Would you be pleased in a relationship with yourself? Are you pleased with what you bring to the table?
Wow. Would you date yourself? Would you be your own self best friend? Listen, that's good stuff. Okay. So that's where we're going to start.
But the logistics, like, okay, so how do we get there?
Right.
How do we get there? Okay, so how do we become a good friend, a good partner? How do we get there? Number one, I want us to look at, are we okay with being by ourselves? Because the biggest risk factor, the number one risk factor for a toxic relationship is being afraid to be alone.
So that's the number one.
That's number one. Well, that's the number one I've seen. I can't say statistically and data wise, there's so many different risk factors. It depends on
your experience.
But I completely, as a clinician for over 16 years, being afraid to be alone, because when we are afraid to be alone, anything is better than being alone.
Right? Better. So that's the settling. That's where the settling.
So it's like, okay, this is harmful, but I'm scared to be alone. Okay, I don't want to be by myself. Okay, this is really, really hurting me, but I don't want to be by myself. So that's why it's really, really important. It's really, really important to figure out, okay, I'm afraid. And actually, I when I come to you, I'm bringing you life experience, I'm bringing you clinical experience, and I'm bringing you education. So I'm going to, and of course, the Holy Spirit is at the top of all of that, guides all of it. So it's going to be all there. And so I did my research in addition to being a clinician forever to look up some things that I wanted to have to do something tangible as well. And I did do some research on like toxicity, and it did say the number one reason why people stay in unhealthy relationships is because they're afraid to be alone. That's the number one. So we have to look at, okay, what is that? What is that? And honestly, that usually comes from somewhere in the past. Somewhere in the past where something happened when we were vulnerable, that was dangerous, that was scary, that was sad, that was traumatic. But when we were alone and vulnerable, or when we felt alone, even if we weren't alone, we felt alone, we felt vulnerable. So we made a soul contract with ourselves inside our core. We said, okay, if I'm not alone, if I have somebody else here, if I'm not vulnerable, if I'm not alone, then that bad thing won't happen again.
Right. So that becomes the defense.
That becomes the defense. And even when you don't verbalize it, inside, you got everybody around you saying, why are you still there? What is going on? What are you getting from that relationship? Why are you still there? And you sometimes don't even realize it, but you know that when they are not present, something in you is just, it's just all off. You're afraid. That fear is creeping up. So we have to assess being comfortable, like really getting comfortable with being by ourselves. Like, is the Lord enough? As we say, oh, the Lord is enough, the Lord is enough, the Lord is enough. But is he really for you?
So, and let me help the people with that. Because that's so good. I want to go deeper. So I want to help those who want to profess the Lord is enough. He absolutely is enough. However, he designed us for relationships.
Yes.
Adam and said it is not good for man to be alone. He wasn't talking necessarily that everybody's going to be married, but he wanted Adam to have communion. Adam walked with the Lord in the cool of the day. He had more than what we have, right? We got repentance, the blood of Jesus. He had God at his disposal, at his fingertips, and he still looked at Adam and said it was not good for him to be alone. So relationships are very, very important. And that's an unhealthy place to say, all I need is Jesus. I can isolate myself. And go ahead, speak to that.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So relationships, so that gives us a very, very good segue. So if we're afraid to be alone and we're in a toxic relationship, a toxic dynamic with friends, an unhealthy relationship with our family, an unhealthy relationship with a partner or somebody in our life, right? We can build community in a healthy way because we are communal people. We need people, but we don't need that intimate connection with that person.
Yeah.
So we identify, first of all, we do get comfortable with being alone. God created us to be in a community. In the community, however, we do have to be comfortable with kind of sitting with ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? If when we are alone, fear, anxiety, depression rises up, we want to see what the source of that is. We can ask God, like, God, what is this? Why am I so afraid? Why am I so scared? Ask him.
Yes. Listen, we talked about that last week, asking the Lord to help your unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to do that as women. Again, it's the stigma, it's the stereotype. You got to be superwoman. If you ask the Lord, that must mean you're weak, and you don't want to be weak to the person who actually is your strength. I don't understand the concept, but that's how we view it, right? And so that's so good. Now, if that toxic is that number one, how do they identify that? How do they start from there? Now that they realize, okay, I do okay with being by myself. What's the next step?
Next step to identifying a toxic relationship?
Well, we talked about.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify the question for me.
No. It was. We talked about the characteristics, and you said the number one of trying to even establish a healthy relationship, you have to be okay with being alone.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We've gotten to that point. Let's say the lady's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm okay with being alone. Now what do I do?
Yes. Someone who is able to see you. Being seen. I'm reading the Cicely Tyson memoir. Okay. And in that memoir, she talks about telling her story and how she wasn't ready to tell her story. She didn't feel like she was ready because she felt that all of her accolades, all of her acting, all of her things that she's done over the years, she poured so much of herself into that so that her story was there, that the world knew her.
Wow.
Someone came to her and said, a Christmas tree is beautiful in all its adorations, all its decorations, all its light, all its tinsel, the star, right? But underneath that Christmas tree is rich and vibrant life that had roots and developed. And when you take all that decoration off, there's still so much it's rich in that Christmas tree. And so they said the world knows your decorations and your adoration, but they don't know you as the tree in your root.
Wow.
Right?
That's good.
Yes. So what I want you to consider is, can this person see me?
The tree.
Can this person see me, the tree? Not not my titles, not my decor, not my hair, can this person really see and accept me?
Yeah. For who you are at root.
Yes.
Makeup you, not the nice go on the date you, not the I'm at church you, not the I'm around my kids you.
Yes, but you. And do you feel like you can comfortably be you around that person? Right? Because sometimes we're around, and that takes time. Now, believers, sometimes we like to give it all away in the beginning. Give it all. Come on, we have to. Not everybody is ready, willing, or deserving of our whole selves.
Can you say that again? Back. Like there's people in the back
is ready, willing, or deserving of our whole selves. So now, one of my favorite statements is, not everybody is healed enough to be in the front seat of your car. Right? Okay, so you are in this vehicle. God is guiding this vehicle. He is driving you to your destination. He has a purpose for you. He has a promised life for you, right? And so as you're going to have passengers in your car. You're going to have passengers that are there for the long run. You're going to have passengers who are there for certain destinations, and then they're meant to get off, right? And sometimes you're going to have people in your life who you're like, okay, this person is not healed enough to be in my car at all, or they're not healed to be in the front of my car. Now, why do they have to be really healed and have my best interest at heart to be in the front seat of my car? Because sometimes when you're driving in a destination, you need somebody to look out for your well-being.
Yeah.
Somebody you trust to be your eyes. You may need to swap seats.
Yeah.
Right? So you really have to trust that person has to be healed. They can't be so wounded that they're not capable. So it doesn't mean that they're bad or they're just not healed enough. So you gotta assess. Sometimes their hurt is just not. They can't be on your journey.
Yeah.
Think about it. When you're in the car, if somebody's acting a complete fool in your car, even in the back seat, what is that going to do to your drive?
Right.
It's dangerous.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you use the car example, because if you need someone that you can trust to be a designated driver.
Yes.
You're on the journey. If you intoxicated with offense and hurt, you for sure can't drive me. We both drunk.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I love that analogy, because it just really makes it plain that too many times we have people in the front seat and we're taking advice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And they're just as intoxicated on anger or on rejection or insecurity as we are. So that's good. Yes.
But now let's give ourselves some grace. We may not be ready for them to be completely out of the car yet. We got maybe not y'all. Maybe you guys are all fully evolved and healed enough. But I got those people in my life who I love, and they've been around since forever, and I'm not ready to let them quite go yet. Yeah. Like, I've been assessing this relationship forever. Do I really want to let them all the way go? They on the third row.
Yeah, you got an SUV, so they're in the third row. They still in the car.
Third row. They still in the car. I haven't let them out yet.
See, you ain't stopped. You haven't stopped, and that's good. So let's talk about that, because we all have that. I'm gonna say cousin, or that love, that intimate relationship that we had. Maybe you're not married to your father's children. Mm-hmm. He's here, he's there. We have all these people that some people we want to put out, we can't.
You got history. How many of us are holding on to history, wishing that we can get back to where they were, holding on to history and potential? Can we let go of history and potential? Can we please let go of history and potential?
So now because I am over here, just my whole situation. I'm thrilled that you're saying this, because again, as Christian women, it's okay to go to a therapist. It's okay to reach out for help. I want to remove that stigma that what you need is people like me who are preachers or life coaches. No, go to someone that can help you navigate. So now talk about how do you identify if you're holding on to someone out of potential and history? How do you identify?
I have to tell. Someone said holding on to history. I done built a museum. Oh, honey.
I see that. I see that. They are cutting up in the comments.
Oh, honey.
I mean, they got a whole museum. They got artifacts. They got, the old documents.
So when we are at that point, I ask you, one really important question that I ask in my clinical work is, what would it take for you to let go? Ask yourself, my museum sister, what would it take for you to close down the museum and say, okay, it's enough? What would it take? What would it take, right? So ask yourself, what would it take? Now, I hear things like, oh, well, if they hurt my child, or if they hit me, or if they did this, or if they cheated, some have cheated, if they cheated again, or there's so many different answers that we hear. And I ask, why does it have to get there? If you've assessed, okay, so, and mind you, I'm not here telling everybody, let go of your relationships, because we have some things that we have to work on. There are some relationships worth working on, but I am going to give you some signs. I'm going to give you actually 6 specific strategies, things to kind of look for, and some safety concerns when you're like, okay, now I do need to assess if it's time to go. Okay. So we are going to go there. But now I do want us to look at what if we know that the bad has started to outweigh the good.
Mm-hmm.
If we're holding on to what they did before, how they helped us, how they were there for us, how they supported us, or how it started, how it used to be good. And it's been so long since that it's been way more, it's been much more time of it being not so good. So that's why we got to hold on to those artifacts, because they're so old, they have dust. Yeah. Right? And we don't see any of that evidence here. Then that's when we really have to start like, okay, what's going on here? What's going on here? So that's one of those things, right? Yeah. And then ask yourself, if you in your heart, you know when it's bad. You know when it's bad.
Yeah, you do.
You know when it's bad. If you know when it's bad, ask yourself, what would it take for me to leave? What would it really take for me to say, okay, I have to go?
Now, I love how you're having them ask the question, and as you're processing in the comments, as you're watching the live, as you're watching on the replay, I really want you to grab a Post-it, a journal, and write that down. And you might not have to answer it right this moment, but I want you to process that. And another thing I find, I love how our sister said at the museum, people like the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because museum, I get to charge you for entry every time.
Yes.
People get to go, oh, wow, look at that, wow. And sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a licensed marriage family therapist, we can invite people and hold on to that history and that potential because of the attention that it brings, whether it's the drama behind it or it's the, oh, I got a fine man. Yeah, he cheated on me, but hey, he fine. The attention.
The attention, I like to identify attention as an unmet need.
Okay. Unmet need.
Look, you might hear the word, a lot of people say the word attention seeking. I would say connection seeking or need seeking, because we don't want attention just for the sake of attention. We want it because there's a need that we have to have met. And it's true, because some people, that has become their identity.
Yeah.
It has literally become their identity. What do I talk to you about if every time I talk to you about how my man is no good? Do we even have a connection?
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to share. Who else am I? Do I have any? Do I have hobbies? Do I have interests? What do I have to even share? I became a shell of myself because I invested so much time and energy into this relationship. So that became my entire identity. So if I lose that, there's going to be this huge void. And I do think that we need to assess that void.
Yeah.
Someone said, "Oh, no, I don't want the."
Yes, I saw that.
I don't want it. So think about like what is it that you're hungry for? Because we call that secondary gain.
Secondary gain.
So sometimes when we're sick, like there's psychosomatic issues, which means that we're sick, but really there's a connection between the body and the mind, and kind of our mind is making us physically ill. And we're like, well, what is the secondary gain? What is the benefit that I get from this? And I'm not going to say exactly who this is, and it's not even a client. This is actually a family member. They are like, every day is something about the doctor. I have to have this surgery. I have to have that. I have to have that. And some of it is authentic. There was cancer. And that there's a mind, body, spirit connection, right?
Absolutely.
So my husband said, wow, when she's sick, her husband is nice to her.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my, he actually pays attention to her and is attentive. And I was like, oh, that's why she's always sick.
Yeah. Now, her mind.
That was her secondary gain.
Yes. Wow.
He is attentive. So he pays attention. He's connected to her when she's physically sick. Right? So there is a secondary gain that comes from sometimes these toxic relationships. I'm the one who always, oh gosh, he needs me. I got to take care of everything in his life because he needs me. That is needed, right? So even if you feel drained, you feel exhausted, you feel burnt out, you feel used and abused, but you
secondary gain.
You also feel needed. So you're like, if I don't feel needed, is there anybody who's going to actually want me?
Wow. Help us on this live today, please. I mean, this is good. If this is helping you in the chat, go ahead and put, this is good. I mean, and you can put triple O's. Because this is good, because it is that you're giving us the language to be able to assess. No, you're saying you don't want attention, but it's a secondary gain that you're receiving from that. And sometimes, I remember working in as a child worker, and I had the teen moms, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, you're 16, you had a baby, now you are 17 and you're on your second baby. What's going on? Get the birth control so you can finish school.
Mm-hmm.
It was the attention from the baby showers, and the mom was into them, and I didn't have the language, but it was that secondary gain
Yes.
we were receiving. So it made sense to continue this negative behavior.
Or even the if I have it, like my fear of really thriving.
Yeah.
Because it's on me right now. Oh, I don't do this because my man, he be tripping. Oh, I can't serve because da 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 da. He I gotta take care of him oh, I can't go to the social outing because da 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 da. Or I can't really fulfill my purpose or walk in my purpose because I have to this. Now, if I don't have that excuse, oh man.
And what about the mothers who are like, I'm good with my boo, but it's the kids? Because I see this too. I see where the super mom, they're the rock star mom, and they at everything. Their kids know all the Bible verses. They at the soccer, but I could see that they're kind of burying themselves in that.
Mm-hmm. And there is again that identity that becomes their yes, it becomes their purpose, because they feel, remember we talked about, they feel successful there. I know how to be a mama. I know how to succeed as a mama. That's kind of an area that's comfortable, it's successful, and it's socially acceptable. Well, why aren't you eating better? Why aren't you exercising? Oh, I can't, girl. I have to do so much for these kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Why aren't you taking care of yourself? Why didn't you say you love to read? How come you haven't read in a while? Why didn't you go to that women's retreat? Oh, girl, these kids.
Yeah.
Oh, the kids. It really, it's scary, really walking in your purpose.
Yeah,
when you don't realize that anointing is what fills you. When you're walking in your purpose and you think you're doing it alone, it's scary. When you take a risk and you step out, it's scary when you think you're doing it by yourself, but you're not. You're not doing it by yourself.
I love that. I mean, we could stay there, but did you have anything else for us? I know we said the toxic relationship. So how do we characterize a healthy relationship?
Yes.
I think that's important. So, because if it's never been modeled for you, you know what to look for.
My favorite quote, and that client gave this to me. He says, he told me, I want to give a love that's willing to learn. That is the dynamic of a healthy relationship. One very good one, a love willing to learn, not one that has all the answers.
Yeah.
Not one that, but a love that's willing to learn. So we know healthy communication, obviously, one that doesn't have abuse or neglect, but a love that's willing to learn. A love that's, are you willing to, if someone brings you something different than you're familiar with, say, I want to learn how to love you right. I want to learn how to understand where you're coming from. Are they willing to hear you and understand where you're coming from? Are they a love willing to learn?
Yeah.
And are you a love willing to learn? Well, that's not the way you did it. That's not the way. Well, my daddy used to da 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 da. Well, her man buys her flowers every day. Well, that's not my way. But I'm telling you that I love you by showing up every day and making sure we're financially cared for. Are you willing to learn that that's the way I love you? And teach me how to love you in the way you want.
Yes. And that's friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I have had some friendships for 28 years. And I've had some friendships for 5 years.
Yes.
There's been times where I'm closer to the person that I've been in relationship with 5 years because they love me, but they're willing to learn. So they and when I'm feeling at my highest, they can come to that and rise to that occasion. And when I'm at my lowest, they can pull me back up to where I need to be. You know what I mean? There's that.
Yes. Yes.
I love how you said that. That's a great point.
And in our relationships, I want us to think about it. I know this is a crass way to think about it, but think about relationships like a bank account, right? Deposits and withdrawals, deposits and withdrawals.
Yes.
Every friendship, every relationship should have deposits and withdrawals. You're depositing, you're withdrawing, you're depositing, you're withdrawing. If you find that every time you're on the phone with someone, you're always withdrawing, and you didn't give any deposits, like, how are you? Is there a way I can support you? Then you're going to eventually withdraw from an overdrawn account.
Mm-hmm.
And when that account is overdrawn, that's where the resentment comes in. That's why don't they ever take my calls? Or where you feel like, oh, they're calling me again. They're probably the account is starting to be overdrawn. Now, what happens? I know none of y'all, because y'all all, got your money and stuff in order, right? But what happens?
They good, right?
People withdrawing from an overdrawn account. And the bank, what happens with the bank? They close that account, right?
Yes.
And after a while, you can be like, oh, I'm sorry, I need my bank account. Here's the money. And what do they say? We don't even want your money. We don't want it.
You can pay those back fees, but we're not opening you another account.
We're not opening another account for you.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to that point where because that's where some of you are almost there. Some of you have people in your life who have been withdrawing from an overdrawn account so long that you're close to closing that account.
Wow.
And what happens when I have couples come in, or even relationships come in, the person is like, I'm trying so hard now. I'm doing everything they asked me to do. Everything for the last 20 years, they've been saying, I need you to be more present. I need you to this. I need you to that. And we are not acknowledging the fact that the account been closed.
Yeah.
So you got to be honest with yourself and them, because a lot of times you talk about the person who is not healthy in the relationship, but we got to be honest as well and say, okay, is this account closed?
Wow.
And don't keep having them pour in, send you checks, and you're never going to open the account again.
Now, that bank account analogy, ma'am, listen, I love that. And I believe my daughter is on. She's watching from Baltimore. Shout out to my baby girl, Liana. Woo-woo. I love her so much. She's amazing. I told her in an instance of relationship, I said, sometimes people want to make withdrawals from accounts that they don't have access to. Theft. So you have people trying to come into your love account, your capacity, right? Withdraw, but they've never made a deposit. They're not even active on the account, but they're trying to make. So you a thief?
Yes. Oh, that is a powerful one. I hadn't even thought about that. Really? When people come asking you to do all kinds of stuff, and you're like, wow, you have never. You know what? I'm gonna give y'all just a plain example. When people start tagging you in their promotions, and you ain't never had a telephone conversation, they haven't supported you in any way. Y'all have no relationship, but every time they sell a t-shirt, they tagging you.
They're trying to take from a bank account that they have not put any money in, and they're unauthorized.
Amen.
And over here they get blocked. Okay, I tried to put a disclaimer out there. But over here, I have the block ministry. My finger is anointed to push that button, and I will remove the tag, because the relationships at their core, like you said, there should be an exchange. And the only people who you can make a deposit into anyone's account, but to withdraw from it, you have to be an authorized user.
Yes. And this comment section is
right. Miss Ma'am, I'll never had a conversation. I was talking to my baby girl. She's trying to front me. I was talking to her about relationships, and I said, this dude is trying to withdraw from an account he hasn't made deposits into.
Yes. So you got that they haven't made deposits into. They don't have authorized access. But now we were talking backstage, and we're talking about that good Christian. Oh, I'm a Christian, so I have to open this door. No, you do not. But we are called to live an abundant life. He came that we may have life abundantly. An abundant life is not a life where people are stealing from us.
No.
Stealing from our mind, body, or our soul, or our resources. That is not abundance.
Right.
That is not abundance. And you will speak to that. You will speak to all of that, because that's your. I'm on the top.
Well, I'm going to ask you. So, would you say So let's talk about some unauthorized users since we're here. Let's
Mhm.
talk about some unauthorized users from a friendship aspect,
Mhm.
a intimate relationship aspect, married or unmarried, um,
Mhm.
children aspect.
Mhm.
Oh, can you give us some so we can identify? Because
Okay, I'm going to give you 6 strategies of subtle, emotional, or psychological abuse because we know the overt ones. We know the physical abuse. We
yeah,
know the financial abuse, right? We know that, like we know that. But I'm going to give you 6 subtle strategies of subtle and emotional psychological abuse, real quick. Okay, one
yes,
is stonewalling. That's basically when they just cut off all communication, right? And you're like, hey, you know what? It really hurt my feelings when you did that the other day, and they just shut down and they don't talk to you for like 2 or 3 days.
wow,
You're walking around the house and you feel like totally alone and rejected.
wow,
Right? So that's a subtle. You're like, okay, well, maybe they're in a mood. Like, what do I do? And it turns around because you find yourself trying to make them happy when all you did was try to communicate what you needed.
yeah. So
Right?
it's almost like they punished you for speaking up
Yes.
against what
Yes,
they said.
that's
Okay.
stonewalling. Even if you guys don't agree, being able to say, okay, I don't agree, or I need a little bit of time, or can we come back to that? But stonewalling is literally just putting a wall up and shutting you out.
That's good.
Okay, so stonewalling is one of those subtle. Mind you, I'm not saying if someone in your life has ever played this one, have this pattern, you can probably talk to them and say, you know what, I realized that when you do this, I kind of learned that it was called stonewalling. It hurts my feelings. Can we work on this? Because they might not even be aware. They might not even be aware.
They
Okay.
might not be aware.
So number 1 is stonewalling. Number 2 is gaslighting. That's when something you know is true. They just because that word is really is everywhere now. You hear gaslighting. So how can okay, I don't be political. Okay, so
Let's not
let's not. So gaslighting. Okay, so that's when you know what you saw. You know your truth. You know your truth, and they convince you that your truth is not your truth. Right?
Mm,
So you see, so that's when you're like, okay, so it's a distortion of the reality. You're like, okay, someone they call a friend, calls you out of your name. You find that you always call them and they never call you. And you're like, I feel like I'm always supporting you and you're not really supporting me. And then they turn into, you don't even care what I'm going through. It's not true. I'm always there for you. And you don't even, and then they start kind of turning it around. And by the end of the conversation, you're like, I'm sorry. You're like, why am I apologizing? I didn't do nothing wrong. Right? And yes, it was. You called me out my name, or you were dishonest, or you betrayed my trust, and I'm sitting here like groveling at you. How did we get here? A lot of times at the end, we're like, how did I get here?
yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's gaslighting. That's gaslighting.
Mm.
So where you're like, okay, how did I get here? How did this get turned around? Or I know what my truth is, but now I'm not quite sure what the truth is or not. That's gaslighting. Okay. And so duplicity is right out telling you one thing while doing another. Right?
Mm.
So say something, and I'm gonna make it real. You're in a relationship and they call you out your name.
Yeah.
You know what? You a B right now. Well, you just called me out my name. I didn't call you out your name. Wait, what? No, I didn't call you. I said you were acting like that is not disrespectful. I did not disrespect you. Like,
Mm.
wait, what?
Talk about it.
Yes, so that's you're like, that's a subtle, like, I know, wait, I saw
Yeah.
you hit the baby, and I said don't hit the baby. And the
Yeah.
baby didn't deserve to be hit, but you're telling me you didn't hit the baby. You're telling me you bumped into the baby. Like, I know what I saw. So that's
Right.
duplicity, right?
Wow. And
And
what is that called again? I'm sorry. It was breaking up.
duplicity, duplicity,
Mm.
outright protection. Okay, so gaslighting is kind of that manipulative kind of talking circles to kind of make you play games with your head, but duplicity is outright just plain old lying.
You got a lion spirit, and we can help you over here.
Yes. Now, guilt. Number 4 is guilt, where you're constantly guilty. You're constantly feeling like you're not measuring up. Everything you're like, well, they're turning it around to you didn't do this enough. Where you're feeling like I didn't care enough. I didn't do this enough. I didn't do that enough. I didn't cook enough. I didn't give them enough sex. I didn't buy it. I didn't clean enough. You're always feeling guilty. That's kind of fine. And then memory. It's like, oh, I forgot. How many of those are like, you asked them, I really needed you to pick up the baby from school today at 3, and you said you would do it. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I asked you to please come home on time because I was making a special dinner for us. Oh, I forgot. right? That's
Yeah.
the whole, it's my memory.
And
Yeah.
and I find that with the kids too.
Oh yes, no, the kids will do that quick. So, and then the last one is that sarcasm, and especially when it's done socially, when you're around other people and they say, "Oh, you know, she never cleans up," you know, or you know how she is, you know how she's so,
Oh,
Tamara, she's so crazy. That's
absolutely.
sarcasm. You know, you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like it's a little jab. That's kind of
Mm.
a passive aggressive dab. It's just a little dagger. It's just little jab, just little pokes. Little
Mm.
pokes they hurt, but it's like when you get pricked with a pin, it doesn't bleed a whole lot, but it's a little hurt. It's just a little jab. And then if you say something, you feel like, am I being petty? It wasn't that big a deal. But what
Right.
you get the big water bed back in the day, who had a water bed, you keep poking that water bed with prick after prick after prick. It's just a little bit of water, a little bit of water, a little bit of water, but eventually that water that is gonna be no good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that it just opens so much. I mean, you're just bringing so much clarity. Because if you don't have language, if you can't properly label something, you can't address it. You can't confront it. You can't deal with it. You think something's wrong with me. I don't have the language. So thank you. Those were, listen, I'm looking at the account, I'm looking at the comments, and they're like, Jesus, it's helping because we didn't have this. We were told to pray over it, fast over it. And
Yeah.
again, I believe in praying and fasting. I believe in the power of the Holy Ghost coming in. I do believe, though, he does say, seek those wise counsel, seek those among you. Let the younger women glean from the older women. Doesn't necessarily mean age, but he's talking, go get wisdom. You'll find safety in a multitude of counsel. A counselor, a therapist, get the help. So this is good. This is good. I want to
Understand, guys, that sometimes it's resources. And a lot of therapists are kind of impacted right now with their schedule because there is a significant need. So there's layers, right? There are podcasts that offer mental health diagnosis, like Therapy for Black Girls has a podcast. There are a lot of podcasts out there. So there are podcasts. I want you to have resources. So I want you to look into podcasts that will give you information and language and insight around the issues you might be facing. There are articles. There also are lower cost resources for therapy. So you have things like Ayana.com. It's an app where you get virtual support, and it's more reasonable than sometimes the face-to-face therapy services. So Ayana is an app. BetterHelp and Talkspace are also apps that offer that support where they're virtual and they tend to be more reasonable. Okay. There are therapists that offer a sliding scale. I just want to give options. I want people to have options for support so they don't think, oh man, I don't have the money for a therapist. So I don't have this. I can't do a therapist. So, oh, I guess I'm doomed. I want you to know that there are articles, there are podcasts, there are Ayana, Talkspace, BetterHelp. And then when you're ready to find your clinician, psychologytoday.com, goodtherapy.com, and then another one that a lot of people don't know about is openpathcollective.org. Openpathcollective.org, right? Ayana is spelled Ayana. Thank you. Who's posting that? Good. Ayana. So what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought because I
psychology.com. If they're looking
yes, openpathcollective.org. Openpathcollective.org helps you to find a low cost, no cost therapist. Okay, they're usually kind of therapists who are kind of starting out, and they are offering like lower cost therapy services. So openpathcollective.org. Yes, thank you.
So I want to do this because I am a giver, and I appreciate the resources, and that's why we brought you on, because we knew that you were the top of your game, and I only bring to Promise Life those who I know are going to impact and really speak to the women at the core. And I'm not sure. I know my team is on. We'll figure out a way, and we want to sponsor one session, 2 sessions with you, with someone that's a Promise Life member. So you will let us know, what your prices are, and we'll put something together. And I know, like you said, schedules are packed, but
Mhm.
I want to be able to, I don't want to open this up and then say, okay, figure it out. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
That bridge to someone who's saying, Tamara, I cannot, afford it. I don't care how what's the slide the scale is. It's
Mhm.
pandemic. I lost my job. We as Promise Life, a sister,
Mhm.
rally around you and be able to source you. No, we can't, obviously do continual sessions, but we
Yes.
be able to start the conversation.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If you will be willing to do that. See, this is
Of course, and you guys, if and like I said, 1 o'clock, if we need to, or later on today, if we want to do a Q&A at some point later, so people, because I see the comments. I see
yes,
the comments. This is good because another layer of my hurt has been coming to the surface, so I'm excited to
yes,
get all this out. Yes, and let
yes,
yourself cry it out. Give yourself permission to feel it. It's okay to not be okay. We just won't stay there. All of our feelings are okay. We just got to be careful what we do with them. Ladies,
yes,
all of our feelings are okay. We just have to be careful what we do with them. It's okay for you to be it's okay for you to feel like you want to go completely off on your boss. It's okay for you to feel that, but it's not
yes,
okay to do it. Right? It's
yes,
okay to feel that. So what do we do with that feeling? It's okay for you to feel like I want to knock my kid's head off. It's okay for you to feel that way. It's
yes.
not okay to do it. So what do? Woo! My kids say when she started praying to Jesus, you better run. Right? I'm like, Heavenly Father, Lord God, don't let me hurt this kid. Get them out my way. Right?
Like, I ain't about to do it. Listen, I'm not about to do it. No, Jesus. No, Lord.
Lord God, I'm not doing this. Lord, give me some peace, give me some space, help me communicate, help me be a love willing to learn.
Yes, I love that. I think
So,
out of
yes.
all of this, that is one of my takeaways.
Yes, yes. So all of our feelings are okay. We just have to be careful what we do with them. Okay.
Yes, yes. So we are talking about going a pop-up live on our Instagram, and that's why I have it there. So there's my handle. You can follow me at Tamara Ellison Inspires, and we're talking about popping on at 1 specific standard time for some Q&A, so we can get some specific questions going because the time is already far spent. Like it's an hour already, and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that we allowed her to just kind of flow and speak. So we thank you for being so amazing. Can we give her some shout outs in the comments? She is
Same to Tara. You are a joy. I love seeing you. You just impact people. I love seeing you shine. I love seeing your light. I love seeing your family. I love seeing your love and your marriage. I just love seeing it all. I just celebrate you. Even if I'm not commenting on everything, my heart is here celebrating with you with every victory. Okay.
yes.
And thank you. Thank you
No,
for
thank you. So we have again, if you want to be a blessing to the ministry, we're going to figure out how to sponsor 2 sessions at minimum for someone. We're going to have to put it together. I didn't know the Holy Spirit was going to say to do this. You can text to give. If you're saying, Tamara, listen, I want to be a blessing to someone, I want to help. You can text the word TEM, which stands for Tamara Ellison Ministries, to the number 77977. It's push pay. They'll send you a link and you'll be able to drop donations there. We will use what comes in today as donations to help assist. Whether we get what we need, I don't even know her prices. I know she's thebomb.com, so we're gonna pay her what she's worth. But we're going to sponsor someone, a young woman or older woman, I don't know, who will set the qualifications up because we want to be a blessing because God is concerned about the entire woman. And so we need to get practicality. We need to know how to walk through stuff and talk through stuff. And it was just amazing to have you. Any last closing, because we got any last closing remarks or nuggets or tips that you would want to drop to us today?
I really want us to hold on to that being a love willing to learn. And I want us to hold on to all of your feelings are okay. We just got to be careful what we do with them. The last thing is just give yourself grace. Give yourself grace because you deserve it. You
Yes.
deserve to be kind to yourself. You deserve for others to be kind to you. You deserve it.
Mm,
You deserve it. You deserve it. Like we cannot really be fully competent in our purpose if we are not taking care of ourselves and not giving ourselves the love, not giving ourselves the grace, not giving ourselves the nurturing that we need.
Woo, that's so good.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
You deserve it. So this was so rich. This was so heavy in a good way. You know, sometimes things are so light and fluffy. It really put enough weight or pressure on us to change. And this is good. This was so good. And I know that the Lord, even putting this series together, we're going to be rolling it out into a podcast.
Yes.
It's time. It's time. We want to be a resource for women to be able to glean. And just so you know, ladies, if you're like, oh, this was so good, I didn't get all of it, it's going to stay on our YouTube. So go back and listen to Chevonna.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And they can be able to slow it down, pause, take notes.
Wonderful.
They'll be able to ask questions in the YouTube chat that, you know, we'll try to make sure we resource, and whatever resources, Chevonna, if you can give us those resources.
Sure.
And I'll make sure I put them and I'll email them out. We want to just be that hub. That's all we want to do. So the last thing we want to do before we go is we do have our workbook called Worth It. I know it's blocking our faces, but I want you to see it. This is the Whole Woman Series edition. Worth It. This is going to walk you through you are enough, you are loved, you are worth it, you deserve it, what the Bible has to say about it. This is our February conversation course workbook that's just dropped today. And you can go on our website at apromiselife.org, and you can download it. My chapter leaders should be downloading this. This is the new workbook, and this is going to take us on that journey of what the Bible has to say, because I think you need all the tools. You need all the tools. And as a promised life woman, you can't live the promised life if you don't know them. You got to know that you're loved. You got to know that God said that you were enough.
Yes.
You know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have to know other scriptures like you're forgiven. Like you messed up, but my love is everlasting, right? So you can go on apromiselife.org and you can download the workbook. We have the scriptures in there. We have the conversation questions in there. So you can really use it. Chapter leaders, this is your guide. So we can launch this out to your chapters. And this is what it's all about. So Chevonna, thank you. This was so fun.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And blessings to all of you. Everybody who's on today, thank you for your time today. And you guys have a blessed day.
Yes, and thank you, ladies, for tuning in to the Whole Woman Series, Relationships at Their Core, with our guest, our friend, our sister, because she's a promised life woman too. She's in there. Our sister, Chevonna Gaylor.
I forgot to tell you guys, like, if you're thinking like, whoa, how do I get in touch with Chevonna? I didn't even think about it.
She's a promised life member.
So, yes. And then also, if you need access to anything else or have questions about me, Chevonna.com. That's CHEVONNA.com. So if you ever need to get in touch with me, Chevonna.com.
And we will have that in the YouTube comments. So they will be able to book sessions with you. They will be able to connect with you, because we want to, again, make sure that they are resourced.
There's some blogs on there and stuff too, just resources, information. Okay.
Yes, I love it. Come on, our other sister is on here, LaShawn.
Yes.
She's showing out. We got to get her on here one of these days too. So I love it. This is what it's about. Promised life woman, resourcing each other, being a support for each other. So thank you so much. And ladies, if you do this, you still have time to share. They can watch the replay. Share. All right, ladies. Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.